Aloha Sagittarius, this is your April 2016 horoscope with me, Lada from Astrolada.com. For anyone who has their ascendant, sun or moon in Sagittarius, and we're shooting from the gorgeous Maui in Hawaii, which according to ancient esoteric lore was part of the mystical Lemurian continent. According to theosophy and Blavatsky, Lemuria used to be here in the Pacific Ocean, where humanity was created, where the sexes separated, where God created the woman out of the man. Basically, we were, according to esoteric knowledge, we were one sex before that. We were basically had two sexes within each other, and then we separated here on the continent Lemuria. So very ancient mystical place. Anyway, so what does April hold for you, Sagittarius? Well, the energies tend to be more supportive because the sun is in a fire sign. The sun, Sagittarius, is in your 5th house. And when the sun enters a fire sign, Sagittarius always get uplifted. They get more inspired. Sagittarius always gets more, revitalized, because the 5th house is very vital house of inspiration, of feeling joie de vivre, feeling lust for life and enjoyment of life, and feeling kind of inspired and connected. It's a dharmic house. Dharmic house means connection to God, means something that gives us more meaning, that makes us more alive. So definitely April the energies start lifting up, start becoming more excitable. Even from the last 10 days in March, you're going to start feeling that. And new inspirations can come to you, the 5th house. Desire to have fun and enjoy yourself and let your hair down can come up as well. And even some romantic dating experiences in good company, you can become more center stage around April. Take activities that are more center stage, whether you do some speech or whether you go to a party and you attract more kind of fun, you attract more attention from others, or if you're yourself in some kind of careers that require center stage, whether you're an actor, a singer, a narrator, a media person, or whether you're doing some speech in front of others, you can really shine out now, because the 5th house is the house of performance and kind of having a powerful impact and glamorous influence with your presence there, like shiny presence that you can impact others. So if you're in any of those such careers that are more creative or that are more center stage careers, because 5th house also rules our creative inspiration, you're going to have in big part of April to around the 20th of April more forward push, forward move, more opportunity to manifest, to have success in those areas. You might be more involved with children as well. 5th house rules activities with children, playing, having fun, being more involved with them. And Venus is also in your 5th house. And Venus is the planet of love. And 5th house is the house of romance and heart connections. So if you, if you're in a phase of romantic period of your life, now it will be especially enhanced in April, till around the 20th of April particularly. Okay. But there is another thing that's happening, and that can dampen a little bit, especially towards the end of April. The first 20 days of April, I think, the first 15 days of April will be quite positive, excitable. But Mars is going retrograde in your sign, Sagittarius, in the first 10 degrees, particularly in Sagittarius. So mostly Sagittarius that are born in November will feel that, or who have their ascendant or their moon in the first 10, 12 degrees. They'll feel this more dampening effect on Mars going retrograde. And it's not exactly dampening, it's more like aggravating, because Mars becomes stationary in your sign and it starts moving backwards, and frustration grows up. The energies of Mars intensify 5-fold from the middle of April towards the end of April, and it can create as if something starts moving backwards in your life, as if some complications come from the past that have been buried or that have been overlooked. And such problems, because Mars rules problems that we have to solve, they come to the surface now, they become intensified, so we can take a second look at them and we can fix them. Or even something that you are not aware of that's been going bad, well, now you'll become aware of, starting from the second part of April, continuing into May, because Mars continues to be in your sign, Sagittarius, and then continues even, I would say, till Mars is moving retrograde June, and then again Mars starts moving direct from July onwards. So you'll be able to resolve those issues and see the results of having put extra effort and having worked extra hard there, and having to solve some problems. You start seeing the results of those extra efforts from around August, I imagine. You know, when Mars starts moving direct again through the sign of Sagittarius. So you see the final result. Because a planet that when it goes retrograde, especially in your own sign, it requires reiteration. It requires re-examining something, fixing some problem. It requires extra efforts, extra push, extra kind of logical and strategic approach. Don't rush from the end of April, from the middle of April. Don't start rushing into things without having researched them well, without having investigated them well, because they can create complications for you. And don't throw out the baby with the water, as they say. Try to try to first research things well, be more cautious, and then again you can start charging ahead when Mars starts running forwards from around July onwards. And you'll be able to really complete those projects that got slowed down when Mars started running backwards. You'll be able to resolve those issues and conflicts that got tangled up when Mars started moving backwards. Some power struggles. You might have to be fighting about something, Sagittarius. Not only the early born Sagittarius, but because also the later Sagittarius, but to a lesser degree. It's as if you're fighting for something, having to prove yourself for something, having to really, when it's in your first house, in your own sign, you really have to, some kind of a battle happens there. For example, I've seen people going to law courts or having to prove themselves in some company, having to really assert their opinion in some way, and seeing a lot of resistance there. But there'll be like a big breakthrough in your life. When Mars is retrograde in your sign, this happens very rarely. Once in 17 years, or sometimes just once in every 34 years. So that's an opportunity for you to change your life in a big way. So by the end of this process, by August, September, you'll have a new beginning of sorts in your life. A new beginning which makes you more empowered. And you'd have been able to solve those problems with your own personal willpower, because Mars is the planet of willpower, with your own personal initiative and your own personal push through and mobilizing your resources and problem solving skills. And Mars, when it goes retrograde, it does not just want to fuck up with you. It just wants to show you a different perspective, that there is a way of doing things better also, that maybe you have to fix something, that something will not go according to your plan, but this new alternative that you have to research, this new approach or this thing that you have to fix actually makes the final outcome much better than you initially planned it, because only God knows what is best for us. And we sometimes think that we're so strongly set on our opinions, which is very Mars, and we think now that's the way it should be, and that's how I want it to happen, that's how I envision it. And when Mars goes retrograde, we start getting frustrated because whatever those goals and how we planned it, it's kind of, we have to look for alternatives ways, or we have to adapt and research and change our actions, or having to, take something that's got tangled up and untangle it very slowly one by one, and you might feel like now things that are slowing down are expected to finish by May, but actually very likely you will finish whatever complication comes and whatever issue you're working very deeply on, starting with the Mars retrograde, by the time Mars starts moving directly. So more patience is required. When Mars moves retrograde, more patience, longer time, even though you might have extra short deadlines, you have to give yourself the thought that you have to maybe expect that it might take longer, and that you have to adapt the plan, and that you have to change something as you go, and to be more cautious, and that some struggle is possible there. But again, every retrograde planet requires 3 times extra more efforts, particularly Martian efforts now, willpower, self-resolve, perseverance, like a soldier-like discipline, and strategic military thinking out of each movement. But by the end of this process, a retrograde planet gives 3 times more fruitful results in your life, and 3 times more longer lasting and life-changing results. Okay. So I imagine that especially the earlier born Sagittarius, the November born ones, and by the end of this process, or the first 10 degrees, by the end of this process, their life will not be the same, but you have to be careful that you can become more frustrated, that you can become more angry, you can attract more aggression, so it's good time to work out, to really channel this Mars energy in a constructive way, because Mars becomes 3 times more strong when it's retrograde, you know, and not to start wars with others. You can defend yourself and you can assert yourself in a healthy way, but don't you be the aggressor, because you're going to lose that battle. Because when Mars is retrograde, they say we should not be the aggressors, because the aggressor loses. And if possible, you know, you have to be fighting some battle, but by the end of this process, you'd come out more empowered, more able to cope with solving complicated situations, more having resolved the problem and made some breakthrough in your life. And Mars goes in your 12th house for a little bit as well, from I think in June and July. It's retrograde in your 12th house in Scorpio, so that can actually create things coming out of your hands a little bit, out of your control, because 12th house rules things that we don't have much control over. They're more karmic, and they're more outer circumstances that don't much depend on us, so we have to be more willing to adapt and to go with the flow, and to again change the plans, whatever goals we had, to adapt. And believe me, again, it will take you eventually to a better position. It will take you to a better resolution, to a better conclusion of a project or whatever you're doing right now. But some fighting of sorts is likely, which if you're not the aggressor, you will win. Some competition, increase of the competitive environment as well, but also slowing down of the results of those, whatever you're working on, whatever you're trying to initiate and have a breakthrough, because you'll be given a chance to make it even better, to reiterate it a few times, and to bring it, to make it much more, sorry, the sun is melting my head, much more efficient. But for a few months, but I'll talk specifically in June and July, when Mars is retrograde in your 12th house, when things can get a little bit out of control, and you might feel like you no longer have the upper hand in the situation. But for now, Mars is retrograde in your 1st house, so you still have a lot of control over the situation, and you can direct it from the very beginning in the direction that is best for you. So that's what I see for you, Sagittarius. I hope I didn't scare you, you know. But always, retrograde planets, they give us the most important results, the most long-lasting results, and by the end of this process, our life is changed in amazing ways, and we look back at those periods as very difficult periods, but periods which required a lot of efforts from us, but we're so grateful because they strengthened our willpower so much and made us take the stand we want, and it took us to the level, to another level, because Mars rules naturally changes and breakthroughs. So over the next few months, you'll be able to have some big breakthrough in your overall life, and you'll feel so much more empowered by the end of the process. Even though during the process you might feel sometimes frustrated and disheartened at moments, because when it gets too hard, you know. But just keep the higher perspective, the bigger perspective in mind. You Sagittarius are good at that. Whatever fight you're fighting, if you're not the aggressor, you're going to win it. So thank you very much.